You know, we're all fortunate to be part of this awesome organization, a place where we can see old friends and meet new ones in the hope to advance the collective knowledge in our industry. It is a true honor to be able to spend a few minutes here to introduce Darryl Boyce. Darryl and I have been friends for the past 20 years in ASHRAE. Darryl and his fantastic wife, Francine, will be celebrating 41 years of marriage at the end of this month. For those of you who don't know, they have 2 adult children, Megan and Nicholas, and 4 beautiful grandchildren. Darryl recently retired as Assistant Vice President in Facilities Management and Planning at Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada. He currently serves as Special Advisor to the Vice President of Finance and Administration at Carleton University. He has been and continues to be an exceptional ASHRAE volunteer and leader. You may not know this fact, but Darryl has served 12 years on the board of directors, and I think that's probably a record. He's held ASHRAE Society leadership positions on many standing committees, technical committees, and presidential ad hoc committees. I have had the honor to witness this man in action, spending countless hours demonstrating through years of service and leadership his ability to serve the society and the welfare of the general public at large. We first met each other at ASHRAE Society activities in 1999 when I was elected to Region Council. He was the experienced Region 2 Director and Regional Chair, and I was the new green Region 10 DRC. At that time, he was also the Region's Council Planning Subcommittee Chair, and he managed to get me really excited about strategic planning within ASHRAE. We both eventually served 2 terms together on the Planning Committee, memorable times that I will never forget. Darryl always took the time to mentor me when I was elected to the Board of Directors. Throughout the years, we've discussed numerous ways to further advance ASHRAE's mission. And I'm not saying that there weren't some beers involved in some of those discussions. I've always valued Darryl's perspective as an experienced building owner and the numerous ASHRAE activities we've worked on together, even when his insightful suggestions sometimes ended with that north of the border, eh? Darryl has always exhibited integrity, humility, grit and determination, leadership traits that will be essential as he leads ASHRAE to further advance our mission and move us closer to achieving our vision of providing a healthy and sustainable built environment for all. It is my honor to introduce my longtime friend and your 2019-2020 ASHRAE President, Darryl Boyce. Good job.
Growing up, my father owned a logging company. In order for him to keep the business going, we moved around often, even to remote islands off the west coast of British Columbia, Canada. My childhood memories were of large equipment and the rugged men that operated and maintained that equipment. After the logging business closed, we continued to move around, and I attended a number of schools. But when I was 14, my father left our family and left my mother, my younger sister, and myself on welfare. And I was thrust into the role of man of the house and chief operating officer for our substandard housing. There was no money for plumbers or electricians, so I was the person that had to handle the plumbing and electrical systems in the house. It was at that time that I began to appreciate the importance of safe, healthy, effective building operations. At 15, I went on a high school trip to the local university, and we toured the power plant. This large equipment fascinated me. So I asked, who's responsible for this equipment? And the tour guide said, mechanical engineers. When we returned to class, I wrote up a paper on future careers that interest me, and I wrote on mechanical engineering. I was then that I caught the bug. My first post-high school education was mechanical engineering technology production orientation. But my first permanent job was an HVAC mechanical systems designer at the University of Alberta. When I received my first assignment to design a ventilation system, I went to the senior designers of the organization and said, "Can you help me with this?" They pointed to the bookshelf and said, "Everything you need to know is in that 4 volumes of the ASHRAE handbooks." I was on my ASHRAE journey. At 27, Francine and I got married, and I quit my full-time job. She was a little surprised about that. And I went back to university to study mechanical engineering. During the 4 years of the study, I also continued to work as a system designer part-time at the university. Looking back, I can see the thread, my thread. A 14-year-old maintaining substandard housing, a junior high school learning about mechanical engineering, and a young technologist learning and discovering the value of this society. I was learning and becoming passionate about the idea that making or building things is not enough. We must ensure operational performance for the people that live, work, and interact in the buildings. People must succeed within the buildings that we create. It makes sense to pause and ask why. Why should we care about operational performance? There are 4 reasons this message makes sense for us. We own the buildings that we design, build, commission, or operate. That's my building. It's part of each of us. Second, it aligns with our ASHRAE mission of advancing human well-being. Matter of fact, I bet most of you think that the H, R, in ASHRAE stands for heating and refrigerating. It really stands for the people. The human resource is the real HR at the center of ASHRAE. As a building owner and operator, I can assure you that building operators need your help. And finally, it's good for the planet by reducing the environmental impact of building operations. And by the way, the children in this slide are not models. They are my grandchildren. So now we know why operational performance is important. Now let's take a look at the current state. Buildings are falling short on operating to the expectations of the building designers and the operators. For example, the Alice Turner Branch Library is using 58% more energy than the design intent. The Roblin Center is using 69% more energy. And finally, the Surrey District Education Center is using 203% more energy than it was designed to. Here's why. There are 3 reasons. First, our great designs are not always, delivering great operations. Designers are not always focused on operability during the design process. And designers need to transfer their great designs into effective operations. And I'm telling you, great designs warrant great operability. Second, buildings are more complex. Technology. We design technology to help improve operations, but it doesn't always end up that way. Technology is not evil. We can have unrealistic expectations, and it can be misused. In 2010, we opened a state-of-the-art engineering building on campus with power over Ethernet controls, as well as enhanced submetering of the equipment, the lighting, and the plug loads. But we found that the additional data and information was overwhelming to our control technicians. Third, operators are lagging behind. Operators are being overwhelmed, as I mentioned. Generally, they do not have the skills to operate today's buildings and are not properly trained. At building turnover, operators are rarely properly oriented. To show this, several post-occupancy studies do our green buildings perform as intended. The UK-based 1996-2001 PROBE project and the 2006-2010 low-carbon buildings performance identified the following key causes of the performance slippage, resulting in energy consumption being much higher than the modeled targets. First, buildings were designed with systems that exceeded the capacity of the building managers to operate. The study found a correlation between building performance and the quality of the management. Second, systems were complex and/or innovative. We're all trying to be innovative, requiring several years to refine and understand. And third, insufficient commissioning. The study found a correlation between the performance and the level of commissioning. Now, we are not the only organization that is concerned about the state of building operations. A 2017 IFMA research study titled Raising the Bar from Operational Excellence to Strategic Impact in Facilities Management concluded that facilities management must adopt technology more quickly and far more deeply. It must move beyond technology to monitor space utilization and energy. And we need to focus on using technology, data, and analytics to enhance the workplace experience. And they summed it up by saying, we believe that mastering the digital age means applying new forms of technology, new forms to enhance both the management of facilities and to create new kinds of work experiences. This is maybe the single most important challenge facing facilities management professionals today. So let's talk about what we can do to ensure that people succeed in the buildings that we create. First, include a building operations team representative all the way through the design, not solely at the end of design. At Carleton, we learned our lesson and established building controls review by our operating staff all the way through the controls design and installation. And the design should reflect the capabilities of the people who will be operating the building. As a result, we will not be leaving the operators with, how do I make this work? We need to establish an effective turnover and orientation training process. And then we really have to understand what life is like after the building is handed over. And remember, we need to design buildings for the occupant operators. Design decisions must be evaluated for their impact on the indoor environmental quality. And last of all, remember, humans, the occupants, are the best sensors of comfort. In addition, we must learn about the use of analytics and fault detection software to enhance operation of building systems. A comprehensive study of National Research Council in Canada determined that with today's building automation systems, we have more than enough data. We just need to use it effectively. And ASHRAE needs to work with building owner-operator organizations to develop strategies to prepare the operators to effectively operate the buildings through enhanced training, effective use of building automation systems, and analytical or other operational tools. And we need to consider adding the concept of a digital twin of the building to improve the understanding of the building operations as a base model. For example, in the United Kingdom, the Building Services Research and Information Association, BISRIA, operates a program called Soft Landings to improve the operational performance of buildings and meet the client's expectations. So, let's discuss what actions we can take to ensure people succeed in the buildings that we create. In the past year, we formed a multidisciplinary task group, Effective Building Operations. The MTG EBO, as it's called, will coordinate the activities of multiple stakeholders in the area of training and the tools to support the operation of buildings to enhance the indoor environment and use energy effectively. Responsibility will include suggestions for research, as well as development of technical programs and special publications on effective building operation to achieve a quality indoor environment while not wasting energy. In addition, it's been my pleasure to serve on the Building Ad Hoc Committee for the last 18 months. Through this process, we want to learn from the renovation and upgrades of a real-world building, owner dealing with the balance between energy use and indoor environment. That's our building. You need to also understand what the building operator brings to the design discussion. And the design, construction, and transition to operations will be fully documented and will serve as a learning process for our members. In addition, the project is also being documented by the BOMA Research Committee as a case study for repositioning existing buildings. Now, what can ASHRAE members do? Well, we can learn, we can get engaged, and we can act differently. We should learn, and by doing that, we should get a copy of the new guideline, Designing for Effective Building Operations, which will be available by June 2020. We should review the center of the built environment to understand what people think about working in buildings. Then we should engage with the building operators at the chapter and society level to improve our understanding of their problems and develop educational and training programs to reduce the gap between design, construction, and operations. Remember, listen to what they say. We should meet at least once a year at the chapter level to talk about operational challenges. We could conduct follow-up discussions 1 or 2 years after buildings are turned over. I can tell you this morning we met with representatives of APA, the Higher Education Facilities Officers, to review a renewed agreement with their organization. And I can tell you they are committed to working with us in these areas. So we have one of the building owner-operators on board. Then we need to act differently. We need to follow the principles outlined in the new guideline, Designing for Effective Building Operations. We need to add computer-assisted building operations enhancements to the design program. We need to design them in. We need to transfer the design operation concepts to the operations team. And finally, we need to learn and apply well-building fundamental principles to the design. At your seats, you will find a card with a link to ASHRAE.org President, this card here, and a web page. And today we launched a section on the presidential web page that provides resources to help us achieve operational excellence. At 14, I was thrust into the role of operating a substandard building, a position I was not prepared for. We can do better. We will do better for those who operate our buildings. Remember, people must succeed within the buildings that we create. Let's ensure we take the steps to achieve effective operational performance and enhance the operator experience. It's good for the building. It's good for the people that live and work within the buildings. It further advances our mission and moves us closer to achieving our vision of building a healthy, sustainable, providing a healthy, sustainable built environment for all. Thank you.